All right, so let's take a look how we can use our sine function and our cosine functions for sum and difference. First one we're going to look at is, we're going to look at cosine of alpha plus beta. We're first going to look at cosine of alpha plus beta. All right. We're going to find the exact value of cosine of 7 pi over 12. All right, well, I only have one angle here, right? But I need two. Okay? So it will be up to you to find what values of alpha and beta that you want to use. Okay? But just keep in mind that you must stay within those special angles that we have on our unit circle. So, for example, if I have a 7 pi over 12, I'm going to break that up. I'm going to break that up into a 3 pi plus the 4 pi. So 3 pi over 12 plus the 4 pi over 12. Well, why did I do that? I did that because I know that 3 and 4 are in fact multiples of, factors of 12, and I know that I will be able to reduce these down. So let's do that. So I've got a cosine. Now, the 3 pi over 12 would reduce down and become what? Pi over 4. And I could reduce the 4 pi 12 down, and that would become what? Pi over 3. Okay. Well, I know that pi over 4 and pi over 3 are in quadrant 1. There are special angles, and we will be able to find their corresponding values. Okay. There are more than one way to work these and to split them up. Just make sure that once you have them split up that you can reference back to your circle, okay? And if you make a mistake, just go back and restart it and you'll be fine. So now let's, essentially at this point, it's basically just subbing in. It's basically just subbing in. We know that the pi over 4 is the alpha and the pi over 3 is the beta. So we're just going to sub in. So cosine of alpha is pi over 4 times the cosine of beta of pi over 3. And since cosine is the one where the signs switch, so since we were doing plus, when we go to the formula, it flips to the minus. And then it becomes sine of alpha, so sine of pi over 4 times sine of pi over 3. So now we'll go back to the unit circle. So we look at our unit circle. Cosine of pi over 4 is what value? Square root of 2 over 2, so we'll just replace that, times our cosine of pi over 3, 1/2, thank you, minus, now we'll do the sine, so let's go back to pi over 4, sine of pi over 4, of course the same thing, square root of 2 over 2, good, and sine of pi over 3, square root of 3 over 2, thank you. So just let's now go back and multiply. Square root of 2 times 1 is just square root of 2 over 2 times 2 of 4. Minus square root of 2 times square root of 3 is square root of 6. Over 2 times 2, again, is 4. Since you have a common denominator, you can go ahead and just bring them together. So we would have the square root of 2 minus the square root of 6 over 4. And there you go. What angles in quadrant 1 could we subtract to give us a 15? 45 and 30. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So let's rewrite. So cosine of 45 minus 30. And those are our degrees. So we have our alpha and our beta. And let's go ahead and sub all that in. So I want cosine of alpha times cosine of beta plus, since we're subtracting, the sign changes in the formula. So plus our sine of alpha, sine of beta. So we resort back to our unit circle, cosine of 45 degrees. Again, it's, let me change color. We can see. Square root of 2 over 2 times the cosine of 30. Square root of 3 over 2. Plus sine of 45. Same thing, right? Of cosine. Times our sine of 30, 1/2. So let's clean this up. Square root of 2 times square root of 3 would be square root of 6, again over 4. Plus square root of 2 times 1 is square root of 2, again over 4. And if you have a common denominator, you can go ahead and bring them together. So square root of 6 plus square root of 2 over your 4, and you can just leave it. That'll be your answer. See if I can get that further out. So if I have sine, whoops, hit the wrong thing. So if I have sine of 19 pi over the 12, I'm going to break that into, how about 16 and 3? 16 pi over 12 plus 3 pi over 12. I'm going to do this one with you guys because our other two classes we used the 10 and 9, and the 10 and 9 worked. So they'll get a couple of examples here. Yeah, as long as you can get them down to what you need, you're good. So let's redo. Let's simplify down. So 16 over 12 would reduce down to 4 pi over 3. And 3 pi over 12 would reduce down to pi over 4. So 4 pi over 3, that's going to swing us into quadrant 3. Yeah, quadrant 3. So we will get out of that first quadrant. Okay, so let's go ahead and rewrite into our formula. So we're going to have sine, let's change sine of alpha, cosine of beta, plus cosine of alpha, sine of beta. And then we'll go head straight to our unit circle. Sine of 4 pi over 3, that's down in quadrant 3, so we will get a negative. So negative square root of 3 over 2. And that's okay. Cosine of pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2. Cosine of 4 pi over 3, again back in that third quadrant, that is going to be a negative. And sine of pi over 4. Square root of 2 over 2. Let's clean it up. So we'll get negative square root of 6 over 4 plus negative square root of 2 over 4. we can kind of bring those together too. So we have a negative square root of 6, negative, and a negative square root of 2, all over that denominator of 4. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to reverse our order. We're going to start with the formula and work back to the, in this case, the addition. So really, all what we're going to do here is we're going to find out what our alpha and our beta are. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, we have cosine of, what's our alpha? What's our alpha? 40. What's our beta? Hold on. 80, and then hold on. Add those together. 40 plus 80 is 120. Go to your unit circle, and that is a negative 1/2. And that's it. That's all that one is. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see y'all Tuesday.